So, different background. Um, Waiting for my SSD to update. Yeah, hopefully the audio's coming through. I guess I won't know. But the funny thing about the situation with cryptocurrency at the moment, to me, appears to be the Restrict Act. Now, doom and gloom. Should it pass? Should people not push back politically? It could bring about some pretty tyrannical shit. To be honest, I mean, the wording is very open. It's not targeted. It's not specifically saying ban, say TikTok. Strange. Again, the dog is going nuts. Sure why. All right, I'll keep going anyway. So I think that's delivery. Hang on, one moment. One momento. So it's pretty doom and gloom, but when you think about it, the funny thing is, whilst all this is taking place, it might be a headache for, say, people who aren't complying with exchange, possible new licenses, and regulations that they may roll out. I don't think it would overly affect the end user, such as the individual who's not doing anything wrong. I mean, the next thing that would be of concern in my thought, my updated worldview, is basically you're seeing this sort of restrict that act being rolled out, not rolled out, being proposed, around the same time. I think July, the FedNow payment services system is going to go live. They announced, I think it was on March 15th for you guys in the US. Um, Possibly there'll be some integration, I would assume, with every other country that integrates with the US. So I'm not sure what that's going to look like, whether or not they've already got that technology in place, they can already do it, I don't know. But you see the FedNow services, so basically it's like a cryptocurrency um, without a public ledger because it won't be, you know, uh, someone on your street that can see your transactions. It'll be like within the internal processes of the bank itself, the Federal Reserve Acts banks. Now, that is concerning because you could see a future whereby you see the um, something like a restrict act being put into place at the same time as a new digital currency. Now, that then tracks and trace every single transaction you do. It doesn't matter if you're not doing anything wrong anyway. But they could turn around and say, well, hang on, we've decided that for some reason interacting with this particular exchange is not so favorable and it's been flagged, and then your whole bank account is frozen just for a brief period, but you have to then contact your particular bank and explain to them that it's like, oh, what are you doing? It's like, I'm purchasing some cryptocurrency, which they will then be, at their discretion whether or not they will allow you to do that, which doesn't feel like you'll be then able to use your own money however you want anymore, because something so small as purchasing an asset, um, a digital asset, I guess you could call it, is now banned because a bank could look at it in a not a hostile manner, but an unfavorable manner. So they may decide to cancel your account. They may decide to cancel your other accounts and flag your accounts and transactions, which they'll have the ability to do now within their internal systems. Now, when you think about it, it's not that much different to the systems already in place, except this system's supposed to be 24/7, 365, so it's up and live, so you can transfer money whenever you want. Transactions, though, however, will be tracked and traced, which transactions are already, as far as I'm aware. An interesting thing will be if they try and ban cash, will they say, well, you can't actually withdraw this digital into cash? Again, another attack vector there. But all in all, it's very interesting because at the same time this is all happening, at the same time this is all happening, you're seeing exchanges, right? And they are being targeted heavily, centralized exchanges, because they're the ones that are stuffing up. They're the ones that are losing money. They're the ones that are causing all this pain. Um, they're putting the targets on all of our backs. Um, you know, talking about cryptocurrency because they're making it seem like cryptocurrency is bad when they're the ones who are losing everyone's money because they're not actually telling you how to control your own coins. They're the one taking custody of it, or they're taking your coins from you, and they're not actually explaining that, oh, by the way, if we go bankrupt, all of the coins will disappear. And because you signed up to the terms and conditions, then too bad. Um, that's my concern with those exchanges, and that's causing cryptocurrency to get a bad name. But at the same time, you're seeing people come out in the industry, and they're basically talking about the massive bull run that's going to come next. They're talking about what cryptocurrencies might be the next ones to, might be good for accumulating now. And it's just funny to see because they're not overly bearish on the whole situation. So maybe, just maybe, it's going to be a tidy up of the entire cryptocurrency space. Uh, Basically, the centralized exchanges, and so they can stop all their nonsense. They can stop, going bankrupt. They can stop taking everyone's coins because people who are, exchanging peer to peer, they're keeping their own track of their records. They're, able to do it in a decentralized manner. They're not they're not operating. They're not transacting with third parties because if you do that, you're injecting the third party risk. Now, it seems, I'm not sure 100% sure, but it seems as if they are going to target through regulation, like I said before, centralized exchanges. Now, my concern, and they're going to do that with, I guess, a tool would be a digital dollar brought about by, the FedNow payment system, um, which in itself is not all bad, but it just does allow for control almost on any single thing you do, on anything you want to purchase, which is concerning. Um, but But if you then apply things like what's even more concerning is like the Restrict Act, you apply that on top of a system whereby you can't spend as you wish and everything's tracked and traced, then it starts to become and feels more like a digital ghetto. Now, I'm not sure if countries are intentionally doing this, and China and the Communist Party, like their digital yuan appears to be the shining hill on the city. Um, that doesn't seem logical. So I'm hoping, again, instead of censoring people who disagree with um, certain policies, whether that they be sort of pro free speech, um, they're for less government, they're for free markets. Maybe that argument is a stronger argument. Um, and you'll see someone like Elon Musk come along and purchase Twitter and just for lulz put a Dogecoin as the icon. And then that sort of movement, I guess, will be a stronger argument than the opposition, which appears to be their go-to move appears to be shut down uh, freedom of speech, shut down political freedom of speech. It appears to be deplatforming people. It appears to be debanking people, like taking away access to financial systems, all because they disagree with your point of view. So instead of having a stronger argument and presenting it in such a manner, they would rather shut you down and make sure that you are never heard. That doesn't seem right, and I'm pretty sure over time people are going to, awaken to this. But as we saw with the Wu flu, it's now more, I guess, mainstream. It's now more recognized that I don't know, people were in basically house arrest for a prolonged period of time, which they didn't do anything wrong, but the government basically said they had to for the emergency use. Um, but yeah, and people are realizing that maybe things might have been. It might have been an overreaction, might have been an overreach of government. However, the government itself will probably never admit that they've done anything wrong, and their answer tends to be more government, which is somewhat concerning. So again, going full circle, to repeat myself like for the millionth time, basically the FedNow system is going to be rolled out. It's being worked on. It is the equivalent of a central bank digital currency. However, you now can envision, or I can envision a day when you go to log on to your bank and you've had your terms of use updated, terms of services updated. If you agree, tick yes. When you do, you then signed on to the new digital dollar where all your transactions are tracked and traced, and then that allows for things like a Restrict Act to be rolled out easier, because if you do something like you purchase, say, something that gets put on a bad list, I guess you could call it. So say for instance, there's some whole talking point about we've got to save the environment, and the answer to saving the environment is paying a tax, or the answer to saving the environment is not consuming as much certain produce. Now you may not agree with that, but if a system is in place that I guess what's that word, chokes, throttles back your ability to purchase those items, it becomes harder for you. Either it'll become extremely expensive, and those normal markets will just thrive because they're like essential and people know they're essential, but the price will just go through the roof and they'll make record profits. Meanwhile, the government will be like, oh, see, look what we've done. We've made normal, we've made normal life for normal people a lot harder. Yay, we're great. Um, and then you'll see things like more control under this digital currency, and then possibly new acts, and then people have to try and maybe influence their local politicians and just tell them, let them know this is going on, and you don't like it because um, it's really not a good look. It's like, is Australia, for instance, are we really going to go down this path of having a interoperable dollar with a US Federal Reserve dollar, whereby they track and trace every transaction, which they probably do already? I'm pretty sure they've got that technology and the ability, and the banks have their financial systems in place or whatever, um, nationwide. And now you're gonna make that, you know, mesh that in with a FedNow payment system. And so they're going to say, oh, so we saw some guy who was loosely connected to a transaction that took place on some centralized exchange, and money was moved, and we just need to know, where the money is. Also, we need to, shadow roll out a US digital dollar tracking system on your country's dollar. But hey, what's happening? Hang on, I can't see because. Oh my god. Get out of the way, soundbar. There we go. Man. I wish I could see my chat. I've got like this soundbar, it's like blocking. What the hell? And I cannot see nothing. Oh, are you serious, bro? What is happening, Finbear? I can see that, but it won't let me actually read the chat. That's super frustrating. Wait, hang on. Shit. Yeah, that's about it, man. Like, tyrannical government has me extremely concerned. I don't think they're gonna come after like an individual for doing nothing wrong, but they're gonna make life extremely hard. They're going to target exchanges. They're gonna make sure they don't like disappear with people's money like they have been doing, and they're probably gonna roll out some exchange whereby they are going to be able to track and trace everything very easily, and it's not going to be up to a choice. Well, that's a good point, man. Like, um, yeah, that's weird. I mean, maybe they just ran out of money. Maybe they're not getting ad revenue. Maybe, who knows? I don't want to start any rumors, but yeah, it's very strange though. Like, I don't know. Maybe what would be the funny thing if they roll out some regulation where you can't make a coin market cap ranking site because somehow that's providing some sort of like financial advice or something stupid like that. Like, so it's like, oh, okay, so once the Restrict Act rolls out, we don't like anyone looking at these cryptocurrency ranking websites because somehow they might affect us. That's what it feels like. That's just insane. Um, that's why I just really hope this Restrict Act doesn't go through and people push back, because I really don't want to. Well, it would suck because for countries in like the US, which should be free and open, why would they be going down this route? I guess fair enough. The people in charge, maybe they're getting a bit older, they're getting on a little bit, they're not understanding technology. For some reason, they feel like it's a threat to their legacy system. I don't know. Maybe they don't like the fact that they don't control it, and maybe the fact they don't like that they can't do like little inside trades. Because reportedly, you see people like Nancy Pelosi and their marvelous record on being able to pick stocks, I guess, and I don't see them doing that with cryptocurrency, because everything's on chain. Well, everything's on chain with real decentralized crypto, but then maybe there's some shenanigans taking place within the exchanges, and they're just trying to cut back on that. I don't know, because for the banks to start failing, and then for the crypto bank specifically to start failing, and then for them to make it appear like crypto's bad, which will probably tank all the prices. Then you see what took place with all the exchanges actually just literally stealing people's money. It puts a very negative light on like real cryptocurrency and the ability to innovate. Like, why would you want to stifle innovation when people can create something out of nothing, literally, and to create maybe vast wealth and then stimulate the economy through that means? Like, isn't that the whole point of innovation? Like, I'm pretty sure when the automobile came along, the cars, they said, oh, they're crap, nothing's ever going to replace the horse and buggy. But then the cars came along, they created whole new industries. The parts like that go into it, it's still evolving now. Now we're seeing electric cars being developed. They're not. I don't think they're the answer, but they're kind of cool. But then they're creating that whole new supply lines for that little portion of electric market vehicles, and then it's encouraging the petrol cars to be a bit more clean and efficient. It's just yeah. That's what it feels like. Like, you could sound all crazy and go, it's all controlled by some fantasy people who uh, control the entire what economy, they control the government. I don't know, but I honestly do think when, like, I don't know if you've noticed, you go to the shops and you sometimes it's hard to get people that actually are helpful. So that's like a small little thing I've noticed. Now, it could be that I'm expecting too much because I guess depending on the shop you go to, maybe you get different services, they get paid differently, and all that sort of stuff. Their ability to understand, um, well, English to start off with, but also to how much they've experienced in life. But then, as you go up the chain, what if like people become, I guess, more competent? But what if they still don't fully understand what's going on in their particular business, a particular industry? Um, you could have incompetence leading incompetence, and so the managers, and the managers all sort of follow and do what they've been told, but maybe not enough people question why this is or why this is a thing. They just go with the process, and then you end up with like weird um, lockdowns or mandates because some expert somewhere decided that this was the best route to go down, even though they knew damn well that there wasn't enough data because it hadn't happened before. But no one wanted to admit that because then they wouldn't seem like they knew everything, and all of a sudden, you know, their spotlight, their moment of like, I'm the expert, I know everything, everyone comes to me, and I can, my fame, um, their fame maybe was heavier than their actual knowledge, which I think may be an issue through all businesses and all environments, in all supply chains, in all businesses. We're seeing like management that don't actually know what they're doing. Like they know what they're doing because they've been told and they maybe have some sort of guidance, but they don't think to innovate. They don't think to develop new areas. They don't think, you know, to question, to push back on things that don't seem right, or they just purely don't care. Like imagine working at a shop, and so instead of actually trying to help people come into the shop, your goal is to rip them off in a way that you just want to sell as many products as possible, and you don't really care how you thought. You're just selling it. Then once you've sold it, not your problem anymore. When you have a shop, it could go the other way though. You provide too much data, too much information, and then they leave your shop and then purchase the goods elsewhere because maybe your prices were too expensive, but your knowledge base was extremely high. Um, yeah, it's a very strange world we live in. And then you then apply this to, I guess, to go back to focus on crypto, you then apply this to governments. Governments think they know everything and they go on to the experts, and you question whether or not the experts actually understand all the aspects of cryptocurrency, um, whether they're research teams or however they're getting their data, whether they are accurate, whether they are up to date, whether they are informed. When they say cryptocurrency bad, basically, it's like it's almost like we have to teach them in some way, whether or not that's controlling the narrative and pushing that out there into their face. Then they have to realize for themselves that they're wrong, because everywhere they go, they're starting to realize that their talking points don't actually make sense and ours do. Because if you don't, you will then get left in a position whereby a talking point that can be produced from, for example, a particular report that's issued by, maybe it's issued by the Bank of International Settlements, maybe it's issued by the World Economic Forum and places like that. Those talking points then get cited into other reports, and those talking points somehow become the strong talking point in the industry leaders, they reckon. But yet they may fail to understand niche areas of their area that they are trying to cover, which is going to be the innovation. So they then try and roll out regulations, policies, ideas, talking points about cryptocurrency and why it's bad. But then you see little pockets of resistance. You see people actually saying, bull run's probably going to come. Bitcoin's probably going to run pretty hard, harder than it is, harder than it ever has. Uh, Past actions can sometimes rhyme with future actions, and you might see, the altcoins riding up with it. You then might have a group of individuals, such as the Hexicans, who may have a shit ton of experience behind them in all different aspects of cryptocurrency, technology, whatever, um, who are able to see this coming before it comes. You then have the founder himself of of a cryptocurrency like Hex. Maybe he can see things also that other people in the industry cannot see. And you're left with, as I said, little pockets of resistance, pockets of knowledge that if we don't pass this knowledge on to other people, then it's going to either A, die out, or B, just be never heard, which both of them would probably happen if no one ever talks to anyone else. This is why communicating is so important, I think. And this is why I think the Hexagon community is so great, because you're able to just jump on to a stream with the technology that is so fearful, that is so bad, but then we can use that technology to push our talking points out, to explain to people that, maybe government doesn't always get it right, maybe they're a bit incompetent, maybe we need to teach them, not to say that I'm perfect, not to say that every single Hexagon is perfect, but generally speaking, if you listen to a person for long enough, if they start to make sense, maybe some of those talking points are valid and relevant. When you see failures over and over again from some governments, maybe you start to think, do they actually have our best interest in mind? Do they really, really have our best interest in mind? Or are they just, again, not really caring because they see a bill in front of them? It's called I want to propose a bill, I'm going to call it the Anti-Corruption in Cryptocurrency Bill Space. And the executive summary is as follows: to eliminate bad events in cryptocurrency. You're like, oh, that sounds wonderful. It's like, hang on, what does that actually mean? This is a hypothetical. And then in within the bill it says, oh, we've decided to ban all computers because they can give access to cryptocurrency, and there's potential that it could be used for crime. You're like, and some people might think that's amazing. Some people might vote for that shit and go, yeah, nice. You're like, hang on. Some people might read it and go, not many people, mind you. How many people actually read the entire terms of service of use? Like when you buy a new phone, when you buy a TV, when you click on an antivirus terms of service. Like, do we read this? I read it. I'm like, what is this? Like, the thing is, I have no. Well, I do have a choice. I could just go live off the grid, not use anything. But when your bank, for instance, rolls this new terms of service out, I can see this coming. You tick it and you go like, oh, I didn't realize now I'm on the FedNow reserve system payment. Yay! Because you didn't read nothing. But the thing is, you won't have a choice. It's not like you. It's like okay. So you don't want to use the roads anymore, right? You don't want to use the roads, but you want to drive a car. How are you going to get around? Seriously, like, you gonna fly around? There's regulations for flying. You can't just fly over like low over people's houses legally. So it can become very hard for you, you know. Oh man. All right. Damn. Just had an update. So might be able to do some more streams, but the missus has to stay in hospital overnight again, so that's not good. But anyway, where was I? What was I saying? Roads, travel, make it hard. So, if, for instance, you have a bank, a financial institution, and you have money, and you then decide that you want to put your money in a bank, which apparently is quite risky now, can relative to a stable coin, maybe, relative to coins held in your actual wallet. Let's say that. What choice do you have? You honestly, you need to integrate with the legacy financial system. So that becomes like the road, you know. Yeah, thank you. Um, yeah, it. I think she just had a. It was just, yeah, it was a surgery anyway, and she has to stay one more night. Kind of sucks. So there's something not quite right. It's okay, but yeah. But yeah, again, this is why the community is so great. You can reach out to others, just jump on, make a stream, and vent, vent to the air, shake my fist in the air. Why? it's it's not that bad though. It's There's some stupid stuff out there, but even if, okay, worst case, right? Worst case, they roll out uh, the equivalent of a central bank digital currency. Exchanges get regulated more than they are somehow. Like how, I don't know, but more than they already are. And then they say that what you can only make so much on crypto, or you can only spend so much on crypto. Okay, like what if you've already made that money? What if you're able to invest that amount daily? I don't know. Like it still might not be the end of the world. I mean, how they're gonna absolutely kill off crypto? I don't think, like, they can't to start off with. But what, they're gonna stop access to all banks to ever access crypto? Um, that's like, that goes back to the whole talking point about, you know, you are banning something. You are literally saying, we don't know how to combat this. Our talking point is weaker than your talking point. We're going to take part in the cancel culture, and as we've seen, go woke, go broke. So, with that in mind, what takes place when the government starts saying, or some government agencies or some bodies of the government start suggesting that XYZ is bad, people are going to maybe shift their attention to it. They're going to pivot to it and go, why? Then they'll look into it, and some people who actually know what they're talking about and actually read things will understand that it's not actually that this is bad. It's more that they want the control over you. because if they get the control over you, then they're able to basically, you know, push forward with their whatever their talking points are. And their talking points apparently are less freedom, less movement, and less ability to associate with other people, and less ability to transact with your own money. And if that's what more government is, then I don't want more government. I want less government. Um, but in saying that, it's like, oh, maybe you should get involved in government and make government bigger. It's like, hang on. I feel like it's I don't know. It's like a booby trap, you know. It's like they're luring you in. It's like, come on, yes, join us, become one of us, you know. And then, would you actually get anything done? Questions. I don't know. But that's about it. And I'm waiting for my hard drives to clone, and it's taking forever. So I have no computer. So I'm digital detoxing by streaming live on YouTube. Lol. um, that's about it. All right. Yeah, venting over. Like I said, be careful. Be very careful. Be very careful. Like and push back politically, peacefully, because we're seeing the Resist Act. We're seeing things like that, which ultimately are about your giving up your freedoms willingly, because we do all have free will. So you can make your mind can think whatever it wants. You might solve like time travel or quantum theory or some insane energy system or a fix money or increase life extension or something like that. That's what humans have the capability to do. Given enough time, given enough know-how, you might be able to influence the world for the better. You know, you might be able to solve one person somewhere might give a smile at someone else who then is able that smile could change their life for the better. Like you don't know what effects we have on the future, like projecting out. So you could go around being a dick to everyone, and maybe those actions have a reaction. You know, maybe you upset someone, they upset someone else, which causes a negative outcome on the world. Um, so just think very carefully before you do things. Not like you guys on stream. People who need to hear this are probably not ever going to hear this. So they're probably too busy working their 9 to 5 job that they hate in a life that's been pre-programmed for them because, as we've seen, not a lot has changed except for technology over the years and society norms. But, you know, the whole formula for life is almost been preset when you think about it. You have birth. Once you hit the school, you start getting programmed, and you got to hope maybe you get some good teachers, maybe you get some good surroundings, maybe you get some good friends. But it's quite possible that over time you submit to this programming. That's not to say that schools are bad or anything or like that, but just you are generally programmed from a very young age. Mass consumption of TV, mass consumption of the news, mass consumption of too much of anything can make you an addict. I think that was said in an Exhibit song from memory. Too much of mainstream media consumption, too much programming. You might forget to question why it is you're actually on this planet to start off with. Maybe you were born to solve some insane problem that no one else knows how to solve, but you're too busy working 9 to 5 or looking after your children. You're trying to work to look after them or pay off your house because that's what you've been told and you've been programmed to do because that's what your parents did. That's what your parents did. That's what your parents most likely did. Before that, life was a little bit different because the economy was a little bit different. How things, and over time we can see the cultural norms shift. That's what I'm talking about. So, if we want to continue on with the same mistakes, then keep working the 9 to 5. There's nothing wrong with that because some people get extremely successful, but then you see it's quite a shit. It's quite sad when you see I don't know. I can't see the damn the. Hang on, I want to change this. Hang on, let's rotate this. It's not gonna work. Should be alright. Yeah, I can't see the comments. It's like cutting off like about this much, so I can just read the end bit. It's frustrating. But yeah, like if we're going to continue on with the same system, we're going to continue on with the same result. So if some people you can be quite successful in your fields, right? But then you're mentally worn down, you're tired, you don't have much energy by the time you come home, and then that's the time you're supposed to be looking after your kids if you've got kids, or like talking to your friends or talking to your partners. And if you're exhausted in a shit mood because you've been busting your ass all day, you're extremely wealthy, but when you're driving home, everything pisses you off. You get home, you're mad, you're angry, you're frustrated. Is that a good positive energy that you want to be resonating in for the rest of your life? Even though you'll be extremely wealthy, maybe you'll be so rich, but you'll be dead inside. You'll be like quite possibly, because it makes you wonder, why do people get super wealthy then they retire early to enjoy life, right? Or maybe there was I can't remember what it was, like a seminar, and the guy's like saying, if you had all the money in the world, the guy was fishing on a jetty, right? He's like just chilling in this nice paradise, tropical paradise. He's like, if you had all the money in the world, what would you do? He basically said, I'll probably be here, you know. But chances are that person's goals and objectives were to go out, get a better job, go out to earn more, um, pursue that dream of the career that's being the top of whatever. But then his ultimate goal was to be exactly where it was right now. So that was pretty fascinating. But yeah, that's why I think fix money, fix the world reigns true, because the love of money is the root of all evil, and yeah, we just see it. What funds wars? Money. What's one of the best things to get into to make money in this world? The two top industries. Guess. Weapons. Number one, wars. Weapons. Two, number drugs. Number two, number drugs. Number two, drugs. Pharmaceuticals, medicines, illicit drugs. Legal drugs are probably by far crushing illicit drugs, I would say, when you look at it. But yeah, so if you're able to fix some of that, then maybe, just maybe, you can fix humanity. I don't know. Maybe this is why Elon's obsessed with going to Mars, because he can foresee some strange things that are going to take place on this planet. Maybe he's just trying to do his best to have a laugh. Change the damn the logo. I was like sitting there and I'm like, am I seeing shit? Did something go wrong with my Twitter screen like literally just now? I'm like, why is it black? And I'm like, oh, that's a Dogecoin. I'm like, whatever. And next thing on like Twitter just like lights up. It's like, oh my god. And probably today everyone's talking about it. That's how the news cycle works if you analyze it. And then today, if you look at it, you'll see mainstream media talking all about it, reasons why, blah 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 blah. And people will be asking why, blah 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 blah. Ah, oh, I can see. Yeah, eventually, man. Eventually, I gotta get some stuff sorted out at home, some more free time. Um, it's weird at the moment. I've actually got some more free time, but then the missus is in hospital, so it kind of sucks. But yeah, but yeah, no, what you guys doing over there pretty cool as well. I've seen some stuff and it's like promoting like healthy living, promoting growing your own food. Like that's one of the most relaxing things you can do. I found. I've actually got this little. I'll go foodie. I've got this little. Yeah, she's doing alright, but like she had some surgery and then, um, they just tested her bloods and the bloods were like she was down or something. So she was in intensive care unit. So, uh, just because of the surgery, and then they just like tested her bloods and everything. And then something came up a bit low, and then because of that, they just, nah, okay, we'll keep for one more night. So tomorrow she'll be okay. Um, but yeah, it's pretty full on. She's been waiting for ages. Thank you. Um, yeah, I've been growing. I got this little like grow light, and I've been growing these. What's it called? Uh, thinking of capsicums. That's right. I'm like seeding from this like grow light, and it's actually starting to work. I'm like fascinated. Oh, that's pretty sick. Because I keep saying, if nuclear holocaust comes and the sky goes black and there's no sun, I want to have this one little light to try and survive. Um, nah, that's pretty grim. But yeah, that's a whole nother, that's a whole nother story to talk about. A whole nother topic, whole nother day. Again, when you think about it, though, connected to money, connected to weapons, connected to wars, connected to arguably governments. Not that governments are evil or anything like that, but generally the way in which humanity seems to evolve, we become very tribalistic very fast, and we can barely get along with everyone in our family in a peaceful, harmonic way. You then start multiplying it and multiplying it and multiplying it, and then you can see why we have such issues in the world. Maybe that's why aliens, if you believe in aliens, maybe that's why they travel because they get sick of the home planet. They're like, nah, that's it, I'm out. And then they figure out how to become self sufficient on a little spaceship and they go out into the vast space and just chill. I don't know. I just don't know. But yeah, I mean, if the thing is, like, after seeing all this whole virus thing, I thought I could just stay at home and be unaffected, be left alone. But what happened? I got like told XYZ with job. I got told can't leave the house. I got told I needed this treatment. I got told X. I'm like, I don't want it, and it's like forced upon. So I'm like, well, no, I'm out. Too bad. So it is quite possible that you can be just chilling in your own little spaceship, in the your house, your land that you live on, but you're still subject to like another man. Like I don't know. It doesn't feel like free will to me. It doesn't feel like freedom. If I'm being told I can't spend my own money, if I can't go here, I can't travel there. One good thing I did see, maybe I might be able to travel to the US eventually because they're thinking about reducing the vaccination restrictions on that country. Japan, they've already done it, so I might be going there. But yeah, if they actually reduce it from the US, that might be on my travel plans in the future, which will be kind of cool. After the missus gets out of hospital, but that's about it. Um, but it is really good to see other people are actually noticing this sort of shit too. Like it's not just some like small pocket of people who are absolutely loon birds who are noticing that government reach is extending further and further. They're noticing that in some ways you're losing freedoms more and more. They're noticing that some regulations and bills just aren't making sense. They're noticing that something doesn't feel right. And then we saw the whole virus thing. Then we saw the 2 years, 2.5 years later, people actually realized what some people envisioned was going to happen, and they saw it happen in real time. And then they experienced it. Some people just won't admit that they were wrong. Some people don't know what to think. Some people are still living in the past. Some people are like, we can't, like, we kind of told you and no one cared, no one listened. So when we talk about this sort of stuff, maybe you should listen to us. But then, you know, other people don't like to hear that because, as I said before, they're busy, they're tired, they're working. Maybe they're going to pay off all their stuff, the mortgages, bills, cars, look after their kids, etc., pay for their kids. Life becomes quite difficult. And so trying to explain them that there's all this other shit happening outside of that is very difficult because most people say, well, that doesn't affect me. I don't care. It's some of those things that I shouldn't really bother thinking about. It's like if you consume too much media, it's almost more programming and guides you in a certain way, which you may not have gone. So, yeah, I'll go for about another 59 minutes and I'll wrap up. I actually don't mind streaming like this. It's good. It's like a vlog. I like this hat. I like the symbol. I like what it represents. Like I said, when Hex gets to $1 on any chain and stays above it for like a prolonged amount of time, um, I'll get a small tattoo somewhere. I don't have any tattoos. I don't like what the ink does here, but I think if you have tattoos for actual reasons, that makes sense. As opposed to just like I got this like cool looking dragon fucking thing, because it looked cool. Uh, yeah, that's about it. All right, I'll do another stream tomorrow. I'll try and do another stream. I'll try and catch up with the foodies and that. Um, yeah, I'm just a bit reclusive. I like making streams, but I just like keeping to myself. That's the only reason why I like to observe from a distance, you know. Alright, peace, signing out. Later, man. Hex. Post chain. Post X. You wait. Gonna melt faces.